Greetings, and welcome back to the Arma-RY. Our next weapon is part of our American Ordnance lineup, and whilst it's a pistol that needs no introduction, just in case, it's the 45 ACP, made in the USA, M1911 A1. A pistol that's had over 100 years of service with just the US military alone, not to mention countless other nations, law enforcement agencies, and civilian circles. Been reproduced here in high fidelity, and let's just take a couple shots with it to start out with. So 45 ACP, quite a big round, great against fleshy targets, but because of its size and its low velocity, not so good at range, or going through body armor, vehicle doors, you name it. However, if you're hitting a fleshy target, it does a pretty good job. These targets work fine too. Do a little quick reload. So, around 1989, when Reforger is set, this pistol is still in high circulation in the US military, whilst it's being phased out in frontline units in favour of the M9 Beretta that you see in the base game. It was still in use heavily by the Marines, rear echelon troops, vehicle crews, engineers, you name it, and even some officers that are clinging to the past, but really, who can blame them? But it's a weapon that's seen so much service throughout the past century, we wanted to not only put our own take on it, but also do it in a way that it can be used by anybody easily. So we're releasing it as its own standalone weapon, as the M1911 pistol pack. So no matter what period you're playing in, you can make use of this weapon. It's very small and it won't really add much to your mod set. We do have another pack which I'll show shortly, but for the time being we'll just do one more little first glance at all this. And there's one animation I'd just like to show off because it also highlights Kronque's fantastic sounds, and that is the dry reload. Nice and meaty sound there for the slide. So, that's the M1911A1. Like is normal in Arma-RY, we have a few different variants for it. The primary is the worn out variant, so that kind of would simulate a very used pistol, like for example one that had been in use since World War II, like a lot of the ones in the US military were at this time. So it has the usual differences to handling, its sound effects, its visual look. Quickly grab it out so you can see the difference, and there's also another hidden one in there for anyone that comes on the shooting range. There you go, a properly worn, very clicky, worn out 1911. So you probably saw the other pistol that we have in there, so it probably needs no introduction, but it is the Delta modified 1911. Well known now thanks to reenactors in collecting circles, it is a glorious weapon which comes in the Delta 1911 pack. As you can see, it's quite slick. It's got quite a few different changes from a normal 1911A1. The sights, trigger is skeletonized, hammer skeletonized, you've got a beaver tail on the grip, an extended safety lever, and it just looks awesome. Now, in 1989, well, in the late 80s in general, US Special Forces, specifically Delta Force, were starting to issue customized pistols to their team members. And this is a trend that continued well into the 90s and pretty much to modern day. These were accuratized pistols done by unit armorers using commercial off-the-shelf, often competition shooter parts. So you can expect when using this one in the game that it's going to perform and handle a little bit differently. You can shoot it faster, it's a little bit more accurate. It's got a slight weight difference with those skeletonized parts, although pretty much negligible, but we went through the effort and did it. And you can see the animations are different. So instead of using the slide release, just for extra cool points, he power racks the slide. And for the actual grip itself, I will just go into the Arma Tools free cam real quick. And you can see it's a much more choked up on frame grip, which you could start to see Delta operators doing in some training photographs of them. It's much more reminiscent of what you see nowadays, and that's because Delta Force were kind of the guys that pioneered it. So with that extra, more firm grip, you have a little bit more recoil control. Now the reason why it's separate from the standard 1911 is we wanted it to kind of reflect, when you're holding this, you're probably going to be, like a higher rank in conflict, for example. You're going to be more of a Special Forces-y looking dude. Whereas this default 1911, we wanted you to just look like a normal trained US military soldier. So there's a reason why we have the differences between the animations. Should you wish, you can always go in and make a mod that just swaps those out, either the Delta animations for the standard 1911 or the standard animations for the Delta 1911. It's your choice. It's all there and ready for you to customize should you wish. But that is the 2 weapons. Now, in the Delta 1911 pack, you also have one attachment that I think people are going to really like. And this has been modeled perfectly by Tepache off of a replica that I own, and that is the dive light. Now, back in the 1980s, you didn't really have pistol, well, really weapon lights in general. There weren't a lot of manufacturers of them. So, Delta Force in particular started making use of diving flashlights mounted to their guns in various ways. Now, you'll probably know of a very popular example that's on a carbine, but this one is a lot lesser known. And this was done by unit armorers by effectively just JB welding a torch onto a metal plate that connected underneath the pistol grip. And thanks to Bacon, it is also functional with his flashlight script. So not great during the day again, but like our Streamlight torch on the G3s, it's a really point and shoot flashlight. So you pretty much just have to put the beam on somebody, and as long as it's in the center and about 15 meters away, you'll probably hit. So there you go. That is the one attachment we have so far for these pistols. There are more that we have in mind for later on, but this is what we have just for the initial release. So stay tuned for possibly more fancy, cool attachments for these old school, cool pistols. One other thing to note for modders is that Kronque has very kindly added sound files for a suppressor. So should you add your own suppressor to this, it should work with no problem. But that is about everything. So, these are now available. Please go download them and give them a try and let us know what you think. And until next time, take care.